Hey everybody, welcome back to Colony Drop, your favorite Gundam podcast. My name is Isaac.
And my name is Brian, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise, from the anime to the movies to the music to the models to the clothes to the lore to the in-person events. Isaac, we do it all.
In fact, we even do top lists, don't we, Brian? Or sometimes bottom lists, I guess you could say.
We love those lists, you know. That's what gets the hits. That's what gets the views, Isaac. People love their goddamn lists.
They sure do, although I'm not sure some of the designers or people involved in the items on our list would want to be on them necessarily.
Today is definitely one of those days where they would not want to be on one of those lists. So.
And why is that, Brian? What is today?
That's because today you wanted to do top 5 ugliest Gundams.
Which is, in a way, another way of saying, I guess, bottom 5 looking Gundams. Well, I did mobile suits. I did bottom 5.
Sure.
I did ugliest mobile suits.
That's right, ugliest mobile suits. So today, listeners, we are going to count down, or count up, or count from the bottom up, or the top to the bottom. I don't know. The ugliest mobile suits across all the universes. They're all fair game, right, Isaac? I didn't hold back. I didn't limit myself to UC.
No, the only rule is they got to be ugly. That's it.
That's an interesting question. What was your criteria? What does ugly mean to you?
Ugly means exactly what you think it means. There's sort of an innate, recognizable knowledge, an instinct in us as anime fans, as Gundam fans, where we see a mobile suit and we're like, oh, God, really? Look at that thing. You're going to be caught dead piloting that. It's hideous. We're doing essentially the opposite of a beauty pageant for Gundams. It's the Gundams you wouldn't want to pilot because of how they look. The Gundams where you're just surprised that this was the design that they got put out on TV, on an animation, and turned into a model. This is a lot of us wondering, what? Why? And then a lot of disgust where we look at it and like, really?
I like that. I like that.
That's really what ugliness comes down to, Brian.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, it was something that I had to look at it and feel like I couldn't defend it.
No.
It had to fill me with some regret. I feel like I would be embarrassed to show it to someone who I was trying to get into Gundam. Yeah. And then it just had to kind of personally offend my sensibilities of, as you said, of being an anime fan, of just stylistically, where you're just like, ugh. What? like the dude will not abide by this. It must be called out.
And listeners, I mean, this isn't necessarily about just, the color choices of the Gundam, although that does play a role. Overall, certainly, though, it's just the lines, really. This comes down to the lines of the mobile suit of the Gundam, just how it was designed, drawn out, written out. Some of these, it's like, wow, what are you doing here? So I'm sure listeners can agree with us. There's just sort of an instinct, a gut feeling a lot of the time when you're watching Gundam. And you see a mobile suit, not even in the distant past when there was, animation was pretty early, but even more recent series you're watching and then you're like, God, really? That's... that was the best this design team or that individual assigned to this character, this brainstorm session could come up with. This is pretty rough. And we're not doing this to pick on any, oh God, I'm really curious now. I was about to say we're not doing this to pick on any one animator, but can you imagine if it turned out that like the ones we picked were all from like the one animator?
Ooh, that's a good point. I didn't even think to check that. I wonder if I scroll down and I look at my list, I wonder if there's multiple from the same guy. Actually, I'm pretty sure that I have like 2 or 3 from the same guy, although that's kind of hard because he did a lot of them. So
it turns out like 9 out of 10 of our choices are from like Toshiro Hatamoto. Sorry, buddy.
Or Kunio Okawara. But that's not fair because he did most of them, so
Listeners, there's a lot of mobile suits in Gundam. So we, by default, had an honorable mention list, which I try to keep short. It's almost as long as my top 5. So I have 4 on my honorable mention.
I have so many honorable mentions.
Oh my God.
First, I want to mention a few things. One,
oh boy,
I did some research of ugliest suits just to get some inspiration here to see if my sensibilities were matching other people's sensibilities, see if I had any commonality here. And Isaac, I saw a lot of people calling out the Kasai Gundam and the Penelope Gundam from Hathaways and the Turne.
Wow.
And I gotta say, what's wrong with you people? you're wrong and you
Huh.
should feel bad and you need to go back to get better taste.
Let me kind of agree and disagree there. So, turn A. I can understand that the listeners, the viewers, who have the clear perception that this is almost a standalone Gundam because of how radically different it looks, because it's so far in the future.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, though, I don't know if this is a generational thing, Brian, but I think I speak for you and myself when I say that it has a charm to it. It's not that bad. Maybe you need to warm up to it or something, but it's got a lovable look to it, the Turn A.
Oh yeah, it's definitely different, but I feel like you can tell that it's well designed for what it's trying to be. And I feel like when I was trying to make this ugliest list, I was trying to find things that were just irredeemable.
Yeah. Now, besides Turn A, the Penelope and the Kasai. Now, this is kind of going along with that what I just said about the Turn A. Their dimensions are just so unusual, shall I say, for a Gundam that I can see how people don't like the big kind of shoulder, chest sort of large frame. We'll call it a large frame. The large kind of central frame that really dominates the Penelope and the Kasai. I can see how that's off-putting to a lot of people who don't like the much more clearly humanoid, lean figure of a Gundam. So I can understand that argument, yeah.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm out of touch on that one. I get maybe someone doesn't like them, but on the ugliest list, like you'd think they're the worst offenders across all these universes. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about ugliest, but kind of ugly. Well, we're already off disagreeing as we would with what's ugly and what's not, with a large base of listeners, apparently. Here's something I'd ask to the people that have an opinion on Turn A and the Kasai and Penelope being ugly. Not that I'm necessarily saying they're not or that they're beautiful, but have you actually seen Turn A Gundam?
Yeah.
Have you actually seen Hathaway's Flash? You know, you can't just kind of go through the Gundams and then say, well, those ones are ugly. It's like, well, you haven't actually seen them in combat and moving around and stuff. You might change your mind, you know.
Right,
but anyways.
right. And I would encourage people who think they're ugly to check out the older art that has more colors. Like when in the video games, when they were not all so white. I believe the white is from the original novel, but they were later colored more normal. And I imagine that as the movies go on, I imagine some of that color will start to leak into the movies. You know, they got damaged right in the first one, so I imagine they will have some more color in the second and third one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, Brian, I love how long your honorable mention list is. So why don't you jump in with 2 feet and give us 2 of them?
No, I'm gonna do the whole thing. It's not that long.
Oh my God, a parade!
It's just a little rapid fire here.
Buckle up, rapid fire.
There's some qualifiers here, okay, Isaac?
Fire away, open fire.
So first qualifier, I left G-Quux off the list for now entirely, but I reserve my right to change that later on because I still think that White Gundam is pretty ugly.
Sure,
but it's too early, I feel, to be damning it to the ugliest list. You know, I'm showing some restraint. I also avoided some extremely obscure things, like the G Gundam prequels or some more very obscure side stories. I also avoided Crossbone, because I felt like a lot of those suits are kind of weird looking, but that's kind of part of Crossbone's shtick a little bit.
Right.
And kind of for the same reason, I also avoided G Gundam, because I also felt like that was part of the joke. But if I had to pick some from G Gundam, I would pick Nether Gundam, or Windmill Gundam, some people call it, Mermaid Gundam.
Really?
Matador Gundam, Mandala Gundam, or Mandala Gundam.
Wow.
Those are pretty ugly, Isaac, but I feel like that's part of the charm, right?
My rebuttal to that would be, because of their charm,
right,
that's why they shouldn't be on the list or honorable mentions. Like G Gundam, even though I'm not a huge fan of it, since it takes itself so unseriously, that's why they couldn't be considered ugly. Like Windmill Gundam, it's fun. Matador Gundam, they're all fun and cute in their own way. I wouldn't put them on an honorable mention list for ugly.
Agreed. So what I'm saying, like, if someone asked me what the ugliest ones from that show were, it'd be those ones. But to your point, I think those are self-aware designs. They know. Right. It's not like the guy he didn't draw Nether Gundam and be like, that's the best thing ever. Like, you know, like he literally drew a miniature golf windmill hole and put it on top of a Gundam and called it a day, and they were like, you know, send it. So I was focused more on things that were presented as serious suits and that are just ugly. I have a lot of problems with suits from the Cosmic Era, Isaac. I think there's a lot of slop. There's a lot of bloat in the Cosmic Era. 3 real quick ones from the Cosmic Era. I would put the Jin on there. It's an awkward attempt to replicate the Zaku. The fin is too big. The wing things are too curved and round, caught in between designs. I think at the time people liked it, but looking back, I think it's regrettable.
Yeah.
The Murasame from Seed, or the Murasume, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the successor to the Astray, but it looks worse in every way. It looks like an Astray bootleg that you would buy at Rite Aid or CVS, you know, that's like made in China. It's like not the official version.
What is with Orb? Like, they're Grunt Gundams. They always put like the orange on them.
Yeah, I don't know. But the Astray looked way cooler. Color. And then we got this thing, and it's just, I feel like it's just a step down. I also would put the full Black Knight Squad on from Freedom. I thought those things were too try hard. I don't like it. It reminded me of like Power Rangers, and I don't like that.
Almost a little Zoids. A bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Another quick one from the 00 timeline. This would be the Ahead, Isaac. Do you remember this suit? It looks a little better in person, but man, the line art is just terrible. It looks like, you know, a robot toy from the 80s that you bought again at CVS. It's not something I would put out.
Yeah. Well, I think the Ahead, pun intended, comes out ahead because something happened with the dimensions in like the chest and the shoulders and the limbs where we started getting a little into some other series, Mecha or something. Like if you look at that sort of silhouette and you remember how like Batman and Superman's torso and arms used to look in like the Batman animated series or the Superman animated series, it's kind of the same stance.
That's right.
The Dorito-shaped body.
It's the Dorito that's a triangle, right? What are those used to be called? They don't make those anymore, do they?
I don't know. The 3Ds or something.
3D ones? Yeah. It kind of looks like a 3D Dorito.
Yeah. Not the best design, unfortunately. It comes off looking squat, and that's not really how mobile suits should look.
What you're bringing up is that there's a certain proportionality to Gundam suits. And the further you stray in any one of those proportions, it starts to look more and more out of place in Gundam. Yeah. It could be perfectly fine in another show. But in this context, especially when you have it in the same show as like what I'll call normal Gundam proportions, it looks extremely odd, and I don't like it.
Not just that, but like if I could hone in on what you just said, it's almost like what we're talking about now is that there's a je ne sais quoi regarding Gundam and mobile suits in Gundam. If you deviate from that, like you said, we just get the ick.
Yeah. Yep.
we get the cringe and the recoil, and we're like, what are we, Macross, Zone of the Enders, some new series? What are we looking at? Because these are not mobile suits.
That's right.
So, yeah.
A few more quick ones, Isaac, to finish off my list here. This was real close to making the actual list, but we have one of the Zeon's amphibious suits, the Zoc. I mean, if you go look up a picture of the Zoc, I don't think I need to say anymore. It looks it looks pretty silly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also a little cute, I think. I always thought the Zoc was a little charmingly cute. Kind of, you know, that's the dumpy one.
The dumpy one.
The dumpy one.
Here's another one from the Cosmic Era. This is the Chaos Gundam. I hate this thing.
Wow.
This is very representative of the Cosmic Era's problems of just too many backpacks. Yeah. Everybody's got a backpack that doesn't fit with the rest of the suit. The only reason why it's not on the list, the actual list, is because some people might like the alternate mobile armor mode where it like puts all this stuff over. It's got like the visor thing and all that. But it just, the normal, I'll call normal mobile suit parts are like a completely different aesthetic than all of the backpack gear that it's wearing. And then for some reason it has pointy shoes and I hate it. I don't like it. Get it out of here.
I'm surprised that you didn't include, well, we're on the topic of Seed, the one that had like the big floating green shields and was piloted by the druggy pilots.
Yes, I debated that one too. I could put a lot of those ones on this list, and this is the one I chose for today, yeah.
Wow, the one with the head that goes to the chest that like just makes you cringe when you see it.
Oh God, yes, there's that one too. Yeah. Another one which a lot of people brought up as a joke. So I'm gonna send this to you because I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Let's see it.
It's from the joke series called Mobile Suit Gundam-san. I believe in the series, Kai is making a joke about how ugly the Zoc is and how ugly the At guy or maybe the Juagu or something. And then he says, someone says, but the really ugly one is, Or someone draws this as a
Oh
joke
my
called
god.
the Zogo Juaju. But then like it's funny because I think a real one then ends up attacking them. But it has like high heels and it's basically like a walking vagina with tentacles. It's hideous.
Oh
But
my
that's not a
god.
real suit, so it can't go on the real list. But I like that because they're self-aware that the amphibious suits can be quite ugly.
Listeners, this is Lovecraftian. This is Eldritch horror. My God in heaven. This came from the cosmos. How did you describe this, Brian? A walking vagina and high heels with tentacles.
That's right. It even has the look in the middle there. It's even got the button.
only only God can save us now. Aim for the button. Use your beam cannon.
The button also goes up and down. It looks like you can move it, just like in real life. But
Oh my god.
that's going on the episode thumbnail. It'll probably get censored on a lot of platforms.
Yeah. This episode is not for children. We're banned from from Anime Expo.
Another one that almost made it is called the Freedom Isaac. This was from G Savior, and this one only didn't make the real
Oh
list
my
because
God.
the actual line art is actually quite nice. And it's just that the 3D in the movie absolutely butchered the design. It looks terrible. It looks like a brown turd in the movie with just blocky details. Probably not on purpose. I'm sure it was just limitations that they were dealing with. The actual design is pretty okay. But if you just look at the movie version and you think that's the only version of the suit, man, heaven help you because that thing's ugly.
Man, that looks like a gym. A gym piloted by like pirate forces or scavenger forces in like the timeline where the Federation loses. You know, like this is
Right.
the Resistance gym. You know, they threw it together. It's kind of rusted.
Yeah, it looks like it's been sitting under the sea for like 80 years, right? And then they dug
Yeah.
it out and it's all rust colored. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So that's my honorable mention list, Isaac. Let's hear yours.
Okay. So I've actually got 5 on my honorable mention. I'll put these in groups. So a turn A1 kind of made it on, and I'm starting with this one because it's half on the honorable mention list, half not. It's got kind of a charm to it, but at the same
Okay.
time, it's like so different than Gundam that I like look at it and I'm like, ugh. And this is the Wadom from Turn A Gundam, which if you pull it up, listeners, in your little Google search, this like screams Macross. This screams
Wow.
maybe even a BattleTech or something. It just looks so different than any mobile suit. It's got like kind of arms, but it's really like this bipedal chicken walker thing. Really different, half ugly, half kind of interesting. So it was 50-50 for me, but what the hell, I threw it on the list.
The Wadom reminds me of the little droid in Star Tours.
Oh, because like he's like a round kind of
Yeah.
disc-shaped head.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Even the circle in the front, that's like his mouth.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. It's very cool. Speaking of cool, all about the Wadom, its legs, listeners, if you're able to Google it and pull it up while you're listening to this, the Wadom, which is Wadom, its legs are covered in some type of self-healing liquid metal flesh thing that when damaged can heal. So very cool tech from the distant future in Turn A.
That is neat.
And by the way, I think this is the only time we ever heard of a suit healing, so interesting.
Yeah.
Next 2 suits are both from Double O. Boo! And these 2 suits are very similar. One's really worse than the other.
Okay.
First, I'll go with the mainstay grunt suit of the Human Reform League, which is the Tierin. If you guys remember, listeners, the Tierin in Double O was the closest thing we got to a Zaku. It was big, it was green, it was blocky, had a mono eye, and what's interesting about it, kind of at least, is they clearly based it off the Zaku, but at the same time, they somehow made it worse looking than a Zaku. Much worse. We're almost in BattleTech at this point with the design of it.
It looks like a Mega Bloks version of a Zaku.
Yeah, or like a Zaku, but like they had to render it in Minecraft or something.
Exactly.
It's not great looking. It doesn't really scream Gundam. The other suit, also in Double O, looks similar to the Tierin, but again, looks like it'd be much more at home in like Armored Core or something. And this is the Anf, which, if you recall, were the mobile suits we see in like Setsuna's flashback when he's seeing like his Middle Eastern war, and then also in the coup that happens in Azadistan, these mobile suits were walking around the streets. How would I describe these? Sort of a hanging, extended neck, and then kind of the main body behind it. Looks very low tech, not great. Yeah, that's the Amph.
Oh,
Ugly.
that is pretty ugly with that neck and
Yeah.
like this. I don't know, what would you even call that gun that's under its chin gun?
Yeah, the chin turret.
Oh boy, I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
It's a mobile suit to the extent that like the gun tank is really a mobile suit. It's like well, that might be what they call you, but you're not really.
But well, the gun tank looks like a 10 out of 10 compared to this thing.
Yeah, but man, it's
The gun tank's cute. It's got those little, the shooter fingers. Come on, I love the little gun tank.
it can't grab anything. It's so limited. Okay, next, this is sort of a 2-for-1 thing. These suits, I have a beef with them. Okay, they were called Gundams. As far as I'm concerned, though, these do not look anything like Gundams, except for maybe the second one. And these are from Iron-Blooded Orphans, the Gujin and the Gujin Remake. I've had a beef with these things being called Gundams. I don't think they look cool at all. The Gujin especially looks like an enemy in Zone of the Enders or something. And the Gujin Remake, let me just say this about the color brown. It's hard to do right for any mobile suit. You should almost avoid it if you're designing mobile suits or coloring them, because it's just that hard to get right.
Okay, Gujin, I'll give it to you. Gujin Remake, though, I think that one's pretty okay. I think that you're right. The color is pretty bland.
Right.
It's a lot better than the Gujin.
It's a bit better. Yeah, I'll give you that.
What about the last version, the Remake Full City?
Yeah, that is better, but not great.
I could see why you don't like the head. It's a little droney.
Yeah. Full City's not on the list, just to clarify. Okay. But Remake is. Remake made the honorable mention just because it's not my cup of tea.
Got it. How would you fix the color scheme on that one?
Oh, on Remake?
Yeah.
We have to go to an extreme, either very dark or very light. I'm going to actually say very dark. Like maybe even like a gunmetal gray with some red details or something would have really sold it.
Yeah.
But I think story-wise, the reason they went to these colors, for whatever reason, was because these were the original colors of the security force that they were part of.
Yeah, it could be.
So I don't know why they would do a throwback, since that security force treated them all so poorly.
Yeah, it's not like they liked that time of their life, right? So.
Yeah, you shouldn't do nostalgia for bad times.
Right.
But what do I know? So yeah, that's my honorable mention list. Listeners, I'm very curious who makes it to your honorable mention list. And at the end of the show, we'll remind you also to make your own top 5 ugliest mobile suits. But don't forget, you can always go over 5 and just add them to your honorable mention list.
Do you think they should have stuck with the bigger Gujin?
See, that's the thing. I feel like mobile suits almost never get smaller as they get more advanced. Right?
Sure.
And I'm kind of putting aside the whole technology transition from mobile suits to miniature mobile suits and all that. I almost feel like, well, if you're going to go big, you got to go home. So we should have seen an even bigger version of the Gujin. Something big enough that like it was fighting, half a fleet or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Which would have made sense to the story. It was already big, so.
Yeah, they could have used a fleet killer too in the in the arsenal there.
Yeah, they were. God, they were so woefully unprepared. They had like one fleet, and then they got defeated by the other fleet from Gjallarhorn.
They were just a nice little naive group of kids.
Yeah, Rastel Alien, he did it.
He's still alive, that is.
He's my favorite. He wasn't that much for now. Come on.
Yeah.
He was a good man.
Yeah, was he? Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's go on to the real list, Isaac.
Here we go.
I'll start us off here. I'm not sure what order these are in, except for the last one. So the last one is definitely going to be the ugliest. The other 4 can go in kind of any order. So the first one I'm going to talk about is from Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny, Isaac. This one, I didn't even know its name, but I knew it when I saw it. And this one, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's either called the Baby or the Babai.
What?
Babi. This is sort of Dom-colored flying suit, and it is the successor to the Din. And the Din actually looked kind of cool, and so this feels like a downgrade to me because
wow,
this suit just seems like it's trying to be 5 different suits all at the same time. And it can't pick an aesthetic, and it just ends up looking like this jumbled together piece of junk. I don't know what's going on with the long head. Is that trying to be like a Gyan or like a cone head? The wing in the back is too thick, and it's just like one piece. I feel like it should bifurcate itself and separate.
Yeah.
The torso is too big relative to the hips and the legs. So either you got to make the torso smaller or the legs or hips bigger to support that. The legs themselves are ugly. The whole thing is ugly. The color scheme is gross because it's trying to be a Dom, but the Doms don't fly like this. What are we doing? The transformation, by the way, is terrible. It's incredibly lazy. It basically just lays down and puts its feet up. It's a waste of space. Didn't need to be made. The Cosmic Era has too many suits relative to how many shows it has, and I just don't think this needed to be made. This pick could honestly have gone to several suits from the Cosmic Era, just as my frustration, like I said earlier, with a lot of the mobile suits in those series. Just feeling like they are filling space, they're inferior to their inspirations, and they're just all backpack monstrosities. But I do think this might be the worst offender, because it's just, we don't even see it that much, because I think they know that it's not good.
I see a lot of influence from Gundam Wing in this. Very Ares and Taurus in a way.
Yeah.
Just how they sort of, the legs kind of fold up and then goes airborne. That said, I'm not going to defend it, but I'm going to say it's not that bad.
Really? Is it? Are you being wooed by the Dom color scheme?
No, it's not the color scheme. It's the fact that we have symmetry. Hear me out. We have symmetry, and I almost taking things apart. I'm okay with a lot of it. Now let's look at from the hip down. That's pretty okay. We don't get anything wacky going on with the feet. Kind of cool how they put jet turbines on the calves. The arms, pretty okay proportions. The head is really the most unique part. It's very much like the Paptimus' suit, kind of giving us some throwback there. The chest, they once again did that thing where they put a beam cannon in the center of the chest, which it's never a good enough design that they make it universal. You notice that? They always tried sneaking that in some suits. And the wing thing on the back, I think what works against it is that it doesn't look aerodynamic at all. It's not even really a wing. It's sort of just a trapezoid.
It looks like a flying, block. I don't know.
Yeah, a trapezoid. If they were sort of swept-back wings, I think you would have a much different opinion on this because it would look streamlined and airborne, but that's not what it has. So yeah, I can see how this could come off as ugly and half-baked.
Yeah, so that's the first one I'm calling out here, the baby or the bye-bye. Someone tell me how to pronounce it. I don't remember anyone even saying it in the show. I don't think it was in many episodes. And then
what we're going to say is baby bye-bye.
Baby bye-bye.
Because we've seen enough of you.
Yeah, I'm never going to see it again. All right, what's your first one, Isaac?
First on my list, and let me just I'm going backwards. So bottom of my list, working my way to the ugliest one. This choice, I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this because of the symmetry, or in this case, the lack of symmetry, I should say, the asymmetry. This thing stands alone, I think, in Gundam as just being hideous in its lack of symmetry and just bizarre looking. It looks like a mech that would be like Yu-Gi-Oh or something. And this is the Bound Dock from Zeta Gundam. I first saw the Bound Dock in my Gundam official guide back when I was in high school.
Right.
And the Bound Dock itself, it's a transforming mobile suit. So yay, boo.
Take your pick.
Yeah, which, as you know, listeners, was one of the dumbest ideas they did in Gundam because that road leads nowhere. Once you have a mobile suit that can transform, that's kind of it. There's nothing else to really do design wise. And its kind of flight mode, I guess, it's okay. It looks like actually no, it's not okay. It looks like a mouse, a computer mouse
It does.
with little arms hanging off. And its natural full assembled mode, standing mode, bipedal, 4-limb or 2-limb mode, it's just hideous. It's got one arm that's kind of like a scooper crescent arm. The other arm's sort of more normal. It's got a weird kind of skirt body, and its head is just so un-Gundam. It's like a jackal or something. It's an ugly design. God help you if you have a model of this. How would you even engineer the plastic
they
to
do
work?
sell a Bound Dock model. I'm sure there are people out there. Everybody send your pictures of your fully built Bound Dock to Isaac.
I don't want that. I want the video of it being able to transform and then untransform. That'll really set it apart. But back me up here, Brian. Ugly or not?
It's pretty ugly. It's never.
Yeah.
I definitely understand the argument about the asymmetry. It's been a long time since I've seen the Bound Dogs transformed mode, and that actually, when I looked it up just now, made me laugh. That is hilarious. The computer mouse mode, that's pretty funny. I don't remember that at all.
It's ridiculous.
I'm sure we'll see that again shortly, but yeah, I would agree it's pretty ugly. It doesn't offend me as much as some of the other ones, so it's not on my list, but I did consider it, but my honorable mention list was already too long, so I did not put it
Okay. This popped into my mind right now. This isn't, what did I say? It was a Yu-Gi-Oh mech. This isn't that at all.
Yeah.
Brian, this would absolutely be at home in a Mega Man X game. It'd be like Karnage Kangaroo
100%.
or something. Cannon Kangaroo. You know, the way it looks and stuff. Or Joint Strike. Jet Strike Jackal.
Yeah, no, those are perfect names. This is 100%. It would be right at home in Mega Man X. Not Mega Man, not Mega Man Battle Network, not Mega Man Zero, Mega Man X. This would fit right in.
Mega Man X, where the forces of evil, led by like Sigma, decided to change their strategy of calling like their bosses like, you know, Fireman or, you know, Hydro Man. And they're like, well, you know what? We got it with animals. They're way more powerful. Send out Spark Mandrill.
I love the name Karnage Kangaroo. That's fantastic. I love that. I'm just gonna call the Bound Doc that from now on. Karnage Kangaroo.
It'll be in one of our side stories where it's called the Karnage Kangaroo.
Yeah, maybe they dig up a Bound Doc years later and they don't know what it's called, and so they just call it Karnage Kangaroo.
No, you know when they dig it up, Brian? It's in a Turn A side story.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
There goes the Roo. And it's piloted by Australian Isaac.
Australian Isaac, give us your opinion on Karnage Kangaroo, a.k.a. the Bound Doc.
His long future descendant in the year... God, I don't know what year it takes place in. The year 5,600 or something. Karnage Kangaroo hopping around what's left of Australia.
I love that. Karnage
Fighting
Kangaroo.
the moon race. All right, what's next on your list, Brian?
All right, so this one is a little obscure. This one is another Zeonic amphibious mobile suit. I was debating between the Zoc and this one for the list, for the actual list. And this one is called the Agu Guy. It's a variant or developed from the At Guy. And I put this one on there because it's similar to the Juagu and the At Guy.
Yeah.
And it was also similar to the Juagu Isaac in that it was produced but not used during the 1 year war because of the same reason, because Char found his way into Jabro too soon. By the way, that like Zeon really placed too much emphasis on Jabro. Like they had two whole models of mobile suits dedicated to getting in there, and then Char got in and they were like, well, what do we do now? Like we don't need him anymore. Like they could have spent all that time working on something else.
Right, well, this will be covered in a future headcanon episode, but I just have to ask you now, Brian, if Jabra was taken out, would the Federation have been okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Zeon, being a small collection of colonies, is really looking at this as the same way of, well, what if we lost Zum City? We'd be done.
Right, yeah.
And Zeon would be done at that point.
That's probably true,
but
yeah.
if the Federation, which is, you know, massive compared to Zeon, loses their main military headquarters / government administration center, or at least wartime government administration center, I think they'd be okay. They need a month to pull themselves together, maybe, but in the long run, they'd absolutely be okay.
Agreed, yeah. And so the Agu guys, they eventually found their way into the hands of civilians, and then the thing actually appeared in Double Zeta. But the reason this is on the list, Isaac, is because they went all in on this like nightmarishly large eye. It just gives me like 60s, 70s monster vibes.
Right.
It's like a kaiju head, just this enormous eye. Maybe it was a good idea back then, but I just don't think it holds up well today. And like now I just see it as like an eyesore, no pun intended, unless we view it as like a relic of an older design period, which is totally fine. I think you have to do that for a lot of the amphibious suits, but this one is just particularly ugly and it makes me laugh. And so there's no way I can show this to someone trying to get him into Gundam and be like, hey, look what this series over here has. You want to watch the Agu guy? Like, there's no way. So, listeners, this is like, it kind of looks like an At guy, but it's got tentacles on its hands and then just this I don't even know how you would describe this face. It's got like a snout, but then just this enormous half moon
Yeah.
shaped head that points down with this nightmarish eye in the middle, and it looks like the Eye of Sauron's looking at you, but if the Eye of Sauron was underwater and had scales on it.
Designed by bees. Oh.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Yagu guy, Isaac? Do you remember this from Double Zeta?
No, I don't remember. I mean, I've seen it before, just as like a drawn image. I've never seen it in like animation actually moving and stuff. Do you know any lore detail about like why its head is so disproportionate and why that eye is the way it is? Because I might have to go on a limb and say this is the only Zeon mobile suit that does not have a red small mono eye.
Oh, that's a good point. No, I mean, I don't see anything on the wiki here about why it's so big.
Okay, I would guess they're like, well, it needs a bigger eye sensor for caves because it's going in the underground to Jabrow and
yeah, I was going to say maybe you could headcanon it and say that the eye is so big because it operated so deep underwater that it also functioned as a light or something like that. I don't know.
Sure. Now, I did see this in my, like, possible options of ugly, but the more I thought about it, I kind of came to the conclusion that, well, the grotesque horrorness of it kind of makes it not so much ugly as, like you said, Brian, a 1960s alien depiction, which is kind of cool, I thought. So the cool factor won over for me for why I wouldn't personally put this in my ugly listing. But yeah, there is no mobile suit that has like tentacle arms like this, really.
What's uglier, this or the Zok?
Wow.
Or is there another amphibious suit that's uglier than the Agu guy or the Zok?
I'd say this is uglier than the Zok because the Zok kind of has like an overweight cuteness to this. Whereas this is, the tentacles. Nobody likes tentacles.
Right. Not even a mother could love this suit, right?
Tentacles are never a good thing. Tentacles don't even work in the favor of the suit using them, right? You don't want to go into battle with tentacles. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Someone could grab them, and throw you around.
Tentacles take too long because they have to, like, coil and then, like... Yeah, it's as opposed to, like, an actual beam weapon or even a heat saber, heat rod. But, yeah, this had to have been influenced by, like, old alien movies.
Certainly. All right, Isaac, number 2.
Okay, moving up my list. Now, this suit is... I saw it in, like, this little Gundam book I had, and I couldn't believe how ugly it looked, how, like, a trashy, tacky prototype it looked. It looks like junk that they threw together because they had to, like, present it to, like, Gearin or something. This is the Recon Zaku. Which, yes, I know it's on a Zaku chassis, and it's essentially the main body of a Zaku, but adding all these cameras to, like, its shoulders and its body makes it ugly. It looks like a toddler was playing Legos or something.
Yeah, it looks like the nerd Zaku who went to science camp or something.
Yeah, or their idea, Recon, is, well, we'll just slap more cameras on it. It's like, well... You don't have to put cameras on someone's shoulders to, like, make them a spy. There's better ways to go about it. They won't necessarily need to look over their shoulder to their left and their right simultaneously. But I feel like it was a very ugly design and just kind of reflects how Zeon early in the war had one mobile suit and they were trying to see what it could do, if it could do everything. And this is the result, an ugly camera-covered Zaku.
It's very retro. The whole, let's put a camera on every point, but I see how the aesthetic is not pleasing. This is interesting, though, Isaac, because there's a variant of this that I like quite a bit called the Zaku Flipper. And if we ever make our side story that we've discussed, I'm going to put a Zaku Flipper in there.
A Zaku Flipper. Oh, boy. Yeah. Let's see it. Huh. Okay.
Some of the redesigns look a little better.
Yeah, I was about to say, the Flipper, you lose me at the shoulders. The face is actually pretty un-Zeon.
It is. But it has a purpose. It's a recon suit.
Sure. I'll give you that. But, man, the shoulders. What is going on to our sides that we'd want to see rather than our head?
That's a good point. I mean, I guess it's just supposed to be looking around. The Thunderbolt version actually looks, I think, pretty cool.
Did they shove antennas?
They did. They was like, I'll see your cameras and I'll raise you
Oh my
antennas.
god. Okay, I'll give them this. This looks much better. I'm still not fully in agreement with the head. God, they kept them on the shoulders too. Well, the thing with the shoulders now is they look more like vernier thrusters.
Right. They turned them black instead of making them like a different color and highlighting that
Yeah.
they're there.
Well, the antennas kind of make it more, at this point, kind of, I don't know, communication Zaku or something.
Sure. But I'll give you this. The Recon Zaku's way uglier than the Flipper. You have to admit
Yeah.
the Flipper looks a lot better than the Recon Zaku.
I'll give you that, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Google it for yourself, listeners, because the Recon Zaku, wow. All right, Brian, what's next on your list? Number 3.
All right. This one took me by surprise. This is one that I had not really thought about in a long time, but once I saw it, some people suggested it, and I definitely agree. The next one on my list is called The Gundam Beginning, and this is from the OVA that preceded Build Fighters. So before we had Build Fighters, there was like this OVA that's not really exactly related to Build Fighters, but it's in the same vein. It was called Mobile Suit Gunpla Builders Beginning G, and this thing just looks like a confused, slapped together design. It's hard to make the normal color triumvirate of blue, yellow, and red look bad on a white Gundam.
Yeah.
But they did it.
Oh my god.
It's hideous. It looks like a toy, and perhaps that's the point. Maybe they did want it to look like a toy. But the cockpit hatch is way too big by any measure of the imagination. Other than the cockpit hatch, the chest is like weirdly one piece. It doesn't even look like it can move. And the crotch is awkward with what appears to be hazard lights coming out from the side. And then the legs seem almost unfinished, Isaac. It's like the designer was designing this, and then he got to the bottom, and he was like, like the design's terrible at this point. I'm just gonna draw some straight legs.
Wow.
Like I just don't get it. This has got to be one of the worst looking main character Gundams I've ever seen.
First, Brian, I have to say, they're all toys.
That's true.
They all look like toys, Brian, because they're all toys. Every single animated thing that a Gundam fan likes is designed to sell plastic.
It's still real to me, damn it.
You gotta call up Sunrise and Bandai like, look, this doesn't look like hardened military hardware designed by a legion of engineers.
Please try harder.
Okay, back to the beginning. No pun intended. Wow. I'm kind of almost at a loss for words. Listeners, if you haven't pulled this up yet, this cockpit is like the size of a shuttle. Like the door on the cockpit chest, it just completely dominates the front of the mobile suit center. There's almost no waist.
Yes.
And then the cod piece, as I'll call it, is almost the same size as the central chest cockpit hatch, which is huge and ginormous, the size of like a forearm or something, a kneecap.
Right.
There's even some weakness, I feel like, in the head itself. Because if you look at the V crest, it has a really oversized septagon or a hexagon for its sort of center jewel, which is the yellow spikes coming off it look kind of flimsy. Now, let's look at the rest of the body. These arms, they seem overly armored and yet immobile at the same time. They have like this really large sort of elbow cap, elbow armor. It almost looks like it'd be more at home on like a larger mobile suit or something maybe from G Gundam that was like a boxing type Gundam. And then you go to the legs themselves, and they're disproportionately slender and smooth. Everything from the hip up is all sharp Euclidean angles. If you go down, now everything is curved, which stylistically doesn't flow together. And not only that, they're very lean legs. These legs look like they'd be for a much lighter mobile suit. I think they'd have trouble moving around a Gundam of this size. Just rounded calves, rounded knees. Yeah, it's a very bizarre looking design. It's colorful and yet ugly at the same time.
Ironically, the protagonist who pilots this, whose name is Haru Ire, or Ire, I don't know how to say his name. He gets like an upgrade called the Beginning 30 Gundam, and that I think looks much better. Now, this one, it looks a lot better, but it has a lot of sort of vague lines, which I'm not really sure what shape it's trying to depict. If you look at it a little closely, I'm not sure if they're
Okay.
leaving out details on purpose, but I think from further away on first glance, this one looks much better, even though it is still lots
Yeah.
of color pieces.
We're almost going into Gaia gear. It's
Sure.
very
Yeah.
kind of an organic armor almost, I'd say.
Right.
It looks so much better though.
It's the opposite of what you'd expect from a Gunpla show, though, right? Because those are sort of like for Gunpla, you expect, like you said, hard angles, Euclidean shapes that you can put on a model.
Yeah.
This is the furthest thing from a Gunpla that I would imagine.
It's modern art Gundam.
You see this at MoMA, you know.
Yeah. These shapes would be like very at home in like a plaza in some major city or something. And then like be a little plaque next to it that says this represents hope. You're like, whatever. All right.
All right, number 3 on your list, Isaac.
All right. Number 3, this should come as no surprise to anyone that's listened to the podcast.
Uh-oh.
And this mobile suit, this Gundam actually, is the weakest in its group. It is also the ugliest in its season. Actually, both seasons, I guess. Maybe even 3 seasons now that I think about it. And this is from Gundam Seed, I think Destiny also, and then even in the movie.
Oh, no. Can I guess what it is?
Yeah, go for it.
Are you talking about the dual Gundam, Isaac?
Yep, it's the Dual Gundam. Let's talk about the Dual Gundam. It's asymmetrical. It's got ugly colors. And like how a lot of Gundams visually show their weaponry and their abilities, the Dual Gundam is just so severely lacking. It comes off looking as visually mediocre because it is a mediocre Gundam. On its own, perhaps in like another series, it would have been able to maybe stand shoulder to shoulder with a lot of the Gundams. But because of how mediocre it looks, it really is the weakest Gundam visually and kind of narratively too in the show. So for that reason, Dual Gundam made it on my list. It's actually the only Gundam on my list. It's say what you will about the Gundams in all series, but it's hard to mess up at a Gundam and make it look ugly. So for that reason, Dual Gundam, you did it. You made it to my list. Thoughts, Brian?
I've made my thoughts on the Dual Gundam clear in prior episodes. It is just a big waste of space. Poor Izak is not working with a whole lot here. It is the weakest one, I believe. Like, canonically, isn't it the first one that was developed out of the original 5? That the Zaf boys try to steal. I believe it's number 1. The version that was in Freedom, the Dual Blitz, that one looked quite a bit better. They turned the colors down a little bit. But yeah, the original Dual I thought was pretty ugly. I feel like the proportions are off on the arms. It has a little bit of like gorilla arm, like you said, Batman animated series arms. And then the assault shroud, I'm okay with the asymmetry, but it looks like it can't move. The extra armor looks too big. I just don't believe that it can move around.
Yeah.
And it didn't really do very well in the show, frankly. It never really had a good showing.
No. And I hope we don't see it again.
I mean, the new one was in Freedom for a few seconds. Remember, it was very brief. I guess he docked with the meteor.
Yeah, he like attacks a fleet or something.
I'm sure it'll be in some side stories. I'm sure there's a lot more Dual Blitz fans out there than there are normal Dual fans. But
sure,
you won't get any argument from me. In my opinion, it's more useless than it is ugly. But I totally respect someone putting the Dual Gundam on their ugly list.
Thank you, listeners. I hope you agree with me. And if you don't, let's hear it out. Let's see your reasoning, all you Seed fans. All right, Brian, what's number 2 on your list? Well, number 4, I guess. I'm counting, depending how you're counting.
So I'm going to get some flack for this one. This one is from Witch from Mercury. If you recall, Isaac, I wasn't a huge fan of most of the Witch designs. This one is called the Gundam Lafrith Thorn. This was piloted by Nerea Dunak. And this is the one that has like the tiny chicken legs. Do you remember this one, Isaac? It's brown. She was one of the sort of unstable girl pilots. She went on a rampage in the school, blew a whole bunch of stuff up.
Yeah.
I don't.
God.
Why are the legs so small, Isaac? I don't get it. If you don't need the legs, if you want to say this only operates in space and you don't need legs, then just don't make any. Or give it more of a substantive bottom half so that it feels more complete. Because right now I look at it and I'm like, this looks silly. And Nerea actually had like a decent story, and that was maybe one of the more emotionally charged parts of the series, where she goes crazy in the school and goes on a rampage and gets killed, and you feel sad and all this stuff. But I can't take her seriously when she's in this little chicken Gundam. It looks ridiculous, and plus the colors are bland. The shape is just strange. I don't like it. It's like I'm staring at an SD proportion suit in a serious show, and I don't get it.
Gundam Cluck. This kind of goes back to what I said earlier. And listeners, if you're able to pull this up, please do. It is very hard to do a brown mobile suit. And I say this as someone who likes the Dom Trop and desert colors, but that might be the only time it's done right. And hear me out. They use multiple colors and shades of brown. You get khaki, you get light brown, dark brown. They knew how to do it right. And I guess something about the Dom's proportions too, where you have a lot of surface area to do different shades. Here though, not only is the mobile suit in like a not good brown color, the proportions have made it squat. It's very short. It's got really weird legs. It would have a better chance if from the waist down they gave it much better leg proportions. Kind of standard leg proportions, really.
Agree. Yeah, if they had just made the knees fold down into normal legs,
right,
it might be okay. It'd still be a little bland, but I wouldn't be constantly having my attention drawn to why it looks weird.
Right. And what's kind of weird about this too is that there's really no rationale to do this to the Gundam from the waist down, because we've seen so many larger suits with much more full legs in space do very well, look so much better. This was an experimental design as an animation choice that clearly didn't do well. And it's too bad, because if you look at the arms, they're pretty interesting. We get kind of lanky, sinister arms. The weapon that it's holding looks really cool. Even the shield kind of works, the shoulders, the Gundam head itself, and I don't know what it is on the back, some type of transformable shield or wing or weapon or something. Those all work pretty well, I think. It's just, this is a case of from the waist down, you lost it.
Yeah, I totally agree. To your point, I don't remember them stating in the show why it has such short legs. If they had made a big deal about why it had short legs, then maybe I'd be okay with it and like have that riddle solved in my head. But if you don't explain it, I'm just constantly looking at it the whole time and being like, that looks weird. Why doesn't it have normal legs like everything else in the show? Or like, why doesn't every other suit in the show have legs like this? Like, why is this one special?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Pretty uniquely hideous. And may this design never return.
Well, that was number 4 for me, Gundam Cluck. That's what I'm going to call the Lafrith Thorn now, because actually Gundam Cluck is easier to say.
Gundam Cluck. Go cluck yourself, designer. Next on my list, which I'm going to call number 2, because I'm counting up to the number 1 ugliest mobile suit in my opinion. Number 2, this will probably be my most controversial one, Brian.
Ooh.
And I need to say that I didn't make this choice because of the pilot. It's got nothing to do with that. I think everyone will agree with me on this choice. A lot of it comes down to the head. Well, really everything. The head, the body, and the arms. And this is the one and only Zeong that we see at the end of the 1 Year War. Now, one thing that's kind of been a pet peeve to me for the Zeong itself is why, oh why, did they put that line down the middle of the Zeong's field of view for the mono arm?
Yep.
It makes no sense. No other mobile suit really does that except the Zaku one, and that was such an early design. They should have moved away from that. If you look at the arms themselves, in the form that we see it with Char taken into battle, which is really all that matters, that's kind of the only canon form of it, they're exposed, and that's ugly. And
It wasn't finished. I
know everyone's going to say that, but we're talking about the mobile suit we see, not what it would have looked like in some sketch. And then it also has these, what are they, assisting boosters only on its like lower torso, only on its lower rib cage, which are really weird. We've never seen vernier thrusters like that only push down from the chest. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a good design because you're pretty limited. And then, of course, the whole lacking legs issue. It's just kind of a big skirt, and they slapped a bunch of boosters underneath it. To Char's credit, he's probably the only one that could have piloted this because, man, get a normal pilot in there, and they're like, well, by the way, it's a prototype. By the way, it's half finished. And by the way, there's no legs. We just put boosters underneath it. So it's kind of half a rocket if you think about it.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's barely operational.
Yeah, it's just an ugly mobile suit. It's got like antler antennas that Zeon never really put on anything. I don't know why they've decided now to use them. It's just overall ugly, and I challenge anyone to think this is a good-looking mobile suit.
I could definitely understand why someone would say this is ugly. I've always given it a pass on its ugliness because of what I thought it was supposed to represent. It was supposed to represent like a new type weapon, so it's supposed to look different, and it's supposed to look unfinished, so I'm giving it a pass for that. But I totally agree about the thing in the field of view, the extra line. My only thought there is they did that because it looks like it creates two eye sockets, and that's probably aesthetically what they wanted. But I totally agree from a practical perspective, that makes zero sense. It just limits probably the most important part of the field of view, if we are to believe that the mono eye is the main camera.
Yeah.
You're basically blocking what's directly in front of you. Now, there are other cameras, we all know that, but I mean, if you're putting that out there, showing us this is the main camera, moving it around, it does seem weird to have a bar right in the middle where you'd like to see. It'd be like driving your car and there's a giant metal bar in the middle of your windshield, you know? It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I almost feel like I would have wanted to swap the Big Zom in this. Like, the Big Zom almost cinematically is a more big of a final boss type mobile suit for, like, Amuro to fight.
I mean, you'll get no argument there from me. You know I'm a big Zom fan.
Yeah.
The other thing that Zeong has going for it is it's so big compared to the Gundam, remember? I mean, I think that's what they were going for. I think they wanted this otherworldly, weirdly proportioned, bigger enemy, and so they purposely made something like this. But now that I'm looking at the vernier thrusters on the chest, that is kind of weird how they just point down. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, very 70s ugly, and that's what we got. Okay, Brian, what is the final one on your list for the ugliest mobile suit ever?
All right, the final one on my list is something that I knew was going to go on the list right when you said we were doing ugliest mobile suits. Now, this is a bit of a cop-out because I have two on here. I knew I needed something from Victory Gundam, and I want you to help me decide which one is uglier. So the two that are on here at the top are the Gedlav and the Galgu. The Gedlav is the one mobile suit that the Zanscare Empire uses that rides on the Einrad, or the giant tire.
Okay.
I think riding on the tire, I can't take this thing seriously one bit. I would be very embarrassed to show this to anybody. It riding the Einrad might be the overall worst mobile suit in Gundam for me. It might be the most cardinal sin. It just looks ridiculous. My only hesitation that by itself, without the Einrad, it's less of a crime. It's still ugly, but I'm not sure that it's as big of a sin without the Einrad. But I feel like you mostly see it riding the Einrad, so I'm not sure you can really separate the two. But that's just the most ridiculous thing. Remember, Isaac, these things riding around in the big tires? What were we doing? That whole show is like a fever dream.
Yeah. Oh, God. The motorcycle squad that was like red, and then the battle fleet, the wheeled battle fleets that were like went to the moon.
That's right.
God, what was the logic? They were going to like flatten the earth?
Yeah, they were going to. That's
God.
right. The other one is the Galgu. This is an amphibious insectoid mobile suit. I feel like they went too far with the Mega Man style armor. It's all red. It's got these huge bug eyes and these antennas. It's got this huge crotch piece.
Wow.
And what made me laugh about this one, Isaac, is it's an amphibious mobile suit, but it's known to have faulty water seals. So it always takes on water. What's the first thing you do when you make an amphibious mobile suit, Isaac, is you make it waterproof? I don't understand how it can make it out of the factory with a faulty water seal. If you go work in the desert, fine, get it. Maybe you don't care so much about your faulty waterproofing.
Sure.
But if you're literally operating at all times underwater, that feels like perhaps a fatal design flaw. You know, a lot of the Zanscare suits are ugly. They have that insectoid look. Some of them are good looking. Some of them are bad. And I feel like the Galgu is the one where they went too far. They went too far into the insectoid crab, and I think it looks ridiculous.
Wow. So these two are just a tie, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I can't decide on the two of them.
Okay.
I think the Gedlav with the Einrad is like the worst offense in Gundam for me.
You know what? For the crab one, I gotta say what you will about Zeon, but they never had issues with like their amphibious suits taking on water.
No, 100%.
But at the same time, like, give Zanscare like a little bit of slack. Like, they're coming from space in a colony. They don't really know much about like the ocean and ocean pressure.
And then it's the amphibious, when it transforms into a mobile armor mode, right? So it can be a submarine or whatever, and fly,
Sure.
shoot around. It's so lazy. It just lays down, Isaac.
You know, looking at it laying down, they really stole the Valvaro.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's lazy. It's like they were like, this show sucks already. Just have him lay down and call it a day, and just shoot through the water.
I don't like the little antenna thing. What is that?
Oh,
The
that's his
thin
little
one.
bug antenna. Yeah.
Ugh, I don't like that. So I'll actually play devil's advocate, or not even play it, but say that because of the symmetry, because of even the colors, and like sort of they're largely reasonable designs overall, I don't think these are that ugly, Brian.
Oh, really? Wow. I think.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean,
I think they're pretty ugly.
Let me qualify that though by saying, or add an asterisk by saying, yes, it is stupid to sit in a wheel, a unit wheel vehicle, and like that's how your suit gets around. But I mean, I kind of like. I don't even remember what it's called. The first one.
The Gedlav.
Yeah, I like its sort of squat, broad shoulder design. Looks like it'd be good in like a fist fight. It's a sturdy little squat, stocky mobile suit, and the crab thing is just the weakest part of it. I feel is that booster in the front, which oh my god. Well, I'm guessing it's not so much a booster as it is like that's where like the underwater turbine is.
Could be, yeah.
And when it's laying flat, that's where you'd want the direction to go. Yeah, but
Sure.
I don't think these are that terrible, Brian. They're not great.
Really?
But
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Maybe it's
yeah,
just the sin of riding around in a wheel for me.
yeah,
Because the Gedlav, like, it was made to ride in the wheel. That's what its shields on its arms are for. They're to be the shields
yeah.
to shield it while it's in the wheel.
And anything that like looks close to the Valvaro is kind of cool in my book.
I'll give you that. I don't think the
Yeah.
look of the mobile armor mode is terrible. I think it's the laziness of the transformation. The quote
Yeah.
transformation. It just lays down.
You can't, just like that flying Zaf mobile suit. You just can't stand lazy transformations, can you?
I can't. No. Transforming's fine with me as long as you give it a good effort, and I don't feel like this one gave it a good effort. So,
Okay, well, I can absolutely see that. I understand that.
all right, Isaac, hit me with the bottom of the bottom, the ugliest mobile suit in the history of Gundam. What is it?
Listeners, I think I speak for all of us when I say that when we first saw this in Char's counterattack, a lot of us threw up in our mouths, and then we had to swallow it. And what I'm talking about is a mobile suit you see not in any combat situation, but in a civilian situation.
Oh wow!
Yeah. This mobile suit's colors are like jarring, hideous, and garish. And I almost think they were designed to be insulting to the Gundam because they're the Gundam's colors. And this is the Hobby Hyzak
Wow!
from Char's counterattack. The Hyzak itself is ugly, right? Because they essentially took a Zaku and then like slapped like some booster wings on it.
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
take that and then add just like the worst version of like light blue, yellow and red and white, like they're making fun of a Gundam, and then just put that on it. And it's ugly. It is the ugliest Hobby Hyzak I've ever seen. It's an ugly mobile suit, and Char doesn't really even have anything to do with it. I think he didn't even pilot it.
No, Gyune picks him up in the Hobby Hyzak. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's an ugly mobile suit. There's no way around it. The design and the colors, they all work against it. And please, nobody in the comments say you like the Hobby Hyzak. How could you? Brian, back me up on the Hobby Hyzak.
Okay, look.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna do to you what you did to me on the Gedlev and the
God.
Galgu. Look, I'm surprised you dislike the Hyzak so much. I don't think the Hyzak is that. I wouldn't say it's as good looking as Zaku. I don't think it's that ugly. I'll give you that the Hobby Hyzak colors are pretty garish.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just kind of like because Char's counterattack was in 89, 88, 89. We weren't into the 90s yet where those colors were super popular. I guess maybe those are 80s colors. I don't know. It definitely screams like hobbyist race car that I fixed up in my garage, which I think is what they wanted. But it definitely looks, to your point, kind of like off on a Xeon suit. You're probably right. They probably are trying to like make fun of the Gundam aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the ugliest of all things. Is this partially because they've desecrated your Xeonic mono eyes with a Gundam paint scheme? Is that what's coming through here?
I wouldn't say that directly, but it's so much more that just like you look at it and something strikes you off about the colors, and this is the one case where the colors overwhelm the lines. Normally, in almost everything we've talked about recently, the lines are really what's to blame. Here, it's the colors, I think, that ruined it and added a sense of ugliness to it. They somehow got worse than a brown mobile suit.
It does look a lot uglier than a normal Hyzak. A normal Hyzak, it's not different enough from a Zaku for me to be ugly, but it's much more unremarkable than a Zaku. It feels a little blander than a Zaku. This Hobby Hyzak, it's very cartoony. I've always felt it didn't really fit in. I think they could have, if they had given it a darker blue, it might be less garish.
Possibly. It would almost have to be like Titan's Navy.
Agree. Yeah. By dark blue, I
Yeah.
mean like navy bluish
Yeah.
or pretty dark. Yeah.
But we'll never know. And when you see it actually in the movie, it's kind of like the colors are kind of bright on the Hobie Isaac when you see it in the movie. It's very striking and not in a good way. It comes off as ugly, poorly placed, jarring, really. And for that reason, it made the top of my list as something as very memorable for a very ugly mobile suit.
It's very memorable. You're not a big Charge Counterattack fan either, so I'm sure that's not helping its case.
No, but in my defense, Charge Counterattack, on repeated watchings, it needs a lot of work. They clearly botched the possibility of telling that story in a full season, which would have been amazing. And instead we got really what feels like a rush job.
Well, I think they gave him one movie to wrap the whole thing up. I mean, what are you gonna do? That was I think he would get a longer leash, nowadays. But I think back then that's what you were given. So,
man, well,
yeah. So you were stuck with the Hobie Isaac. Imagine what you could have had if it wasn't rushed.
One movie and they spent time on the Hobie Isaac. Man,
it just grinds Isaac's gears into the ground.
Grinds him into the colony.
Well, listeners, those are our ugliest mobile suits. Honestly, Isaac, I feel like if I kept digging for another 5 hours, I could find a whole nother list of 5 or 10 that were even uglier than the ones I did find, because there's a lot of mobile suits out there. So we obviously want to hear your list of ugliest mobile suits. So please drop them in the comments. And let us know what you think about the Penelope Gundam, the Kasai Gundam, the Turne Gundam, or especially any of the ones that we brought up. Are they super ugly? What do you think of the Hobie Isaac or those Victory Gundam suits, the Gedlav and the Galgu? Are those really the ugliest? Are we off our rockers here? Or what are we thinking? Is there some glaring suit that we missed, Isaac? I want to know.
What do you think of the color brown? As a mobile suit color. It's impossible to get right almost 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, find us another good-looking one other than the Dom Trop.
I was about to say the Zommel, but that's almost like an orange. Yeah. That's like a desert orange. I don't want to even say that's brown.
And that's such a different aesthetic than a normal mobile suit. I don't know if you can... Yeah. I don't know if the same rules apply to that.
The Zommel's a mobile tower, if you think about it.
The Zommel is a beast.
It's a mobile artillery building. And it looks great, too. Say what you will about the Zommel, but it's a really cool design.
Well, there you have it, listeners.
You've heard of a beauty pageant. This was the Gundam Ugly pageant. And it's over.
That's true. Oh, you know what? Maybe some other good brown ones are. Weren't the Southern Cross members brown? They had those Zakus that were brown. Those were pretty good, right?
Okay. My rebuttal to that would be they're desert khaki. And I know I'm kind of splitting hairs almost, but hear me out. They were done well. And I'm going to say that the lines of the Zaku, which we all know and love, carried that home. They did a lot of the footwork to make sure it looked good as a desert Zaku.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I could get along with that. Yeah, I mean the same could be said of the Dom Tropin then, because the Dom aesthetic is doing a bit of the work, but it is different than a normal Dom. So I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah,
absolutely. But if you did actually put a Southern Cross Zaku next to a Dom Tropin with desert colors, you'll see for the Tropin they absolutely use a lot more colors.
Okay, so besides Dom Tropin and the Southern Cross, listeners, find us another brown mobile suit that's a success that we haven't talked about today.
You can't.
They don't exist. They're all ugly.
You're gonna have to dig into a side story.
All right, listeners, leave us your comments below. Isaac, take us away on this ugly day.
All right, listeners, before you go sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, get on your knees, put your hands together, look up at the ceiling, and hail the Hobie Isaac.
Good night, everybody.